Welcome to a new way to level up in D&D. More classes, more customization, easier multi-classing. If you are looking for a fun twist to character progression, then you are looking for D&D skill trees. If you'd like to learn more, check the description. Otherwise, on to the video. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another DST video. Today we'll be discussing the Manipulator. From a landslide win on the votes this time, we definitely have got to discuss this really interesting, unique class that has been added to my system. It is one of the few classes that has been added from no other point. It's basically completely made up by me, which means I'm very excited to talk about it because it's got some very interesting, unique abilities that no other class really sees, especially none in any D&D or even Pathfinder classes that I've looked at. Notably, the last video I posted was that feat tier list, which kind of goes to address every feat in the game that I have access to with this system. So I'm no longer going to be doing the feat section at the end of each class telling about feats that are useful on the classes. If you want to figure out the classes and what feats are good on them, just basically look at all the feats. You can even check out that video if you think it would help. It probably will. But overarchedly, I would say that the Manipulator has some pretty good feat access and a lot of fun combos to be made. But in the main class itself, it's got some even more fun customization that is available even despite feat choice. Before I get into the class itself, I just want to explain the concept behind the Manipulator. Flavor-wise, the concept behind the Manipulator is that you control a chunk of matter, and you can flavor this matter as anything you want. Say you want it to be like a person that bends Earth, and they can move Earth about themselves in any way. You can think like Avatar: The Last Airbender type character. Or you could be a necromancer who controls hordes of skeleton and like rotting flesh and stuff, and flavor all your abilities as being necrotic in nature. Or you could play just like a wizard as your main class, Manipulator as your subclass, and say that whenever you're using your Manipulator powers, you're just using arcane wisps of energy and then swirling them around the air to use the abilities that the Manipulator gives you access to. The basic concept of the Manipulator is to flavor it however you want, but there's also two overarching different paths on the Manipulator. You'll note that the right half is very separate from the left half in the sense that they don't really overlap except for at the bottom and right here. The right half is all about spellcasting with dexterity as your spellcasting stat, which is very interesting because I haven't given any class a baseline access to dexterity as a spellcasting stat. That is because dexterity is one of the strongest stats in the game, being used for not only armor class, initiative rolls, but also just being really useful for attack rolls, is just a very commonly targeted saving throw skill. It's definitely a really important stat, and that's why, although I've allowed Constitution to be used as a baseline spell stat, putting dexterity as just the baseline spell stat is really hard to do. But the Manipulator can get around this in a variety of ways, especially if you start as a Manipulator. And I'll explain more about that when we actually get into the class. But the other half, the left half of the Manipulator, can be played as a full spellcaster that kind of accesses a bunch of higher level features whenever they're fighting, or even a Gish type character that uses the spellcasting aspect of the Manipulator as a way to like focus their martial prowess. And so there's really a lot of different options that you can get with the Manipulator, especially when you start looking into the other classes that you can mix and match with this for subclasses, multi-classes, and when we get into the Substance Cloak and how that actually functions. But we are going to start in the starting benefits right away. So let's get into the Manipulator with the starting benefits. Notably, it is a D4 hit dice character, which means that if you are picking this as your main class, it's going to be a D4 hit dice for you, which is really low, but there are advantages to this as well. You'll have dexterity as your major stat and intelligence as your spell stat. Now, notably, dexterity is your major stat because it kind of is your spell stat, and you'll see what I mean by this in a second. But intelligence is also very important for the Manipulator, and so having a high intelligence score can help out you very well as well. So the starting benefits are 4 plus your constitution modifier in hit points, 1 hit dice, proficiency in light and medium armor, simple and martial weapons, and then you'll get to choose 1 set of tools, charisma, and strength saving throws, which are not the best saving throws, but we also get to choose 3 from Arcana, Deception, Persuasion, Intimidation, Perception, Investigation, Athletics, Acrobatics, Stealth, Nature, and Religion. It is a large sweep of options, and you get to choose 3 of them. You also get 2 more nice benefits, a +1 to your caster level, and a +1 intelligence modifier worth of substance points. So this means that you'll have extra substance points equal to your intelligence modifier. And what is a substance point, you might ask? Well, let's talk about the other feature you get for Manipulator Node 1, that being Manipulate Matter. You have an amount of matter that you have control over. This matter takes any form you wish. Perhaps it's liquid metal, or maybe you have control over the very ground and your matter is made of loose dirt and stones. Or perhaps you're a necromancer and you control a mass of writhing undead flesh and bones. Basically, flavor this however you want, and you can change it often if you feel like that makes sense for your character, or you can have it be very consistent in what you control. But that being said, you can use this matter to push around small objects or move it about yourself to grant yourself advantage on a persuasion or intimidation checks. This mass can also be used for stronger abilities with more nodes in Manipulator by spending substance points. And you will have 3 substance points and regain all missing substance points at the end of a long rest. You'll also gain more substance points with the +#sub feature. Notably, you already, if you're starting as a Manipulator, will also have plus your intelligence modifier substance points, which means that if you have a +5 to your intelligence modifier at level 1, you have 8 to start with at level 1, which is not a bad amount by any means. And there are speckled throughout the class a lot of these plus substance points features, allowing you to get a decent quantity of them. Notably, also the Investigator Initiate feat is really helpful here because it can also give you your proficiency bonus extra of these substance points as well, because they are a point source. But let's move into the right half of the Manipulator right off the bat. You'll note that Manipulate Matter is more of a prestidigitation-esque feature in the sense that it doesn't actually give you that much useful capabilities off the rip. Most of the useful capabilities will come from either picking up Substance Spells or Substance Cloak. We will be starting with Substance Spells, and this says that you gain access to the Sorcerer spell list, a +1 to your caster level, and you'll learn 2 cantrips. You are a spontaneous caster and will gain 4 known spells from any list you have access to. But the rider is the important part here. It says that when you cast a spell, you can choose to also spend substance points equals to the casted spell's level. If you do, the spellcasting modifier is changed to Dexterity for that spell. So basically, this means that if you're casting Fireball, it would cost 3 substance points, and then the spell save DC would be based off your Dexterity modifier instead of your Intelligence modifier. Which means that Manipulators can have a really high Dexterity modifier, allowing them to not only go really soon in combat, but also have a really nice AC, in addition to being able to cast their spells with Dexterity, which can go pretty well with this fact that not only will you have good saving throws for Dexterity and all the other stuff, but also Dexterity is a great stat for if you want to become a Gish, because again, you can make attack rolls with Dexterity with finesse weapons. So all around, being able to use substance spells to cast spells with Dexterity can be really useful. That being said, you do need to spend substance points every single time you cast a spell, unless it's a cantrip. Cantrips, you can use this basically for free because they're 0 level spells. So it would cost 0 substance points to turn them into Dexterity. That being said, we're going to continue upward on this path, picking up an ability score improvement before we grab Matter Shape. This says that you can shape your matter to create 1 non-magical item of your choice in an unoccupied space within 10 feet of you. The item must appear on a surface or in a liquid that can support it, and the gold piece value of the item can't be more than 10 times your nodes in Manipulator. The item must be medium or smaller, or if you wish to create something larger, it will require that you spend substance points in this manner. Large will cost 2 substance points, huge will cost 5 substance points, and gargantuan will cost 11 substance points. These are notably not actually that expensive. Like, taking into account that you can have 8 at level 1, I mean, if you invest fully in intelligence, which I wouldn't actually recommend doing, you're probably going to want to put most of your skill points into dexterity because that's kind of the more important stat for a manipulator. But it is really interesting, and the more creative you are as a player, the better matter shape can be. I mean, being able to make a ladder out of nowhere to help your team climb out of a hole, or even just a rope so that you can throw it up. Maybe you even make a grappling hook. Notably, the gold piece value of the item can't be more than 10 times your nodes in Manipulator. Right now, that means that even if you just gun it to this point right now, that's a gold piece value of 40 gold, which means you can make almost any weapon you want by just taking a few levels in Manipulator. Next, we're going to continue on, picking up a +3 to our substance points. And then we can grab a +3 to our caster level. Notably, the Manipulator is a full caster and will gain a pretty decent chunk of spellcasting. In fact, by the end of the class, I'll tell you how high they get, but they are much higher than most spellcasters in my system, in the sense that they are more similar to things like Wizard than they are to an Artificer. Probably somewhere between a full caster and a half caster. And after that, we can grab Matter Master. This is a fun one that says your control over your substance has become legendary. Whenever you spend 2 or more substance points, you get a 1 point reduction to the cost. So if you want to be casting spells constantly using dexterity, this is a must-grab feature because it basically immediately makes everything 1 point cheaper. Unless you're casting a level 1 spell, even a level 2 spell is casting 2 or more points worth of material, which means it'll be reduced down to 1. Fireball now costs 2. Cone of Cold now costs 4. These are very small buffs, but over your entire career, it is going to be a huge reduction to the cost of substance points required. Let's go back down to the bottom quick and start picking up these branches that I missed out on by gunning it all the way to Matter Master, starting with Manipulate Summons. This is the really flavorful addition if you want to play a Necromancer, but again, it's not going to be for everyone, and some DMs might not like this ability, but I think it was important to put it in the class as a whole. Manipulate Summons says that whenever you cast a spell, you can spend a number of substance points equal to the level of the spell you cast. If you do, summon a matter creature that listens to your commands. As a bonus action in combat, you can command up to your proficiency bonus numbers of these creatures to use any regular action. And then the matter creature will have HP equal to the substance points spent to cast it, so anywhere between 1 and 9. Its size will be based on the substance points. 1 to 3 will be small, AC 10, 4 to 6 will be medium, AC 14, and 7 to 9 will be large, AC 18. Their speed will always be 30 feet, and their attack will be a 5-foot reach plus substance points to hit, and it'll be a 1d8 plus substance points spent to make damage, and your DM will agree with you on what type of damage makes the most sense based off of your chosen matter. So for example, if you are doing the zombie type character with your manipulate summons, it'd probably be slashing, but if you're manipulating lava or molten metal, it would make a lot more sense to deal fire damage. But of course, talk with your DM about this. Notably, your matter creature will always fail any saving throw it is subjected to, which means that they're not tanky in any sense. They can take a hit, but they're probably going to die even after just one attack from a goblin. So these are not strong creatures, but they are bodies on the field that can be interesting given certain aspects of the concept. And also, if you want to be that type of character that has just an entourage of little creatures that are following them, I would actually recommend the trainer, but Manipulator is not a bad class to also have the same feeling. If you wanted to try to play a character that had a ton of different pets using a bunch of different characters, Manipulator would be a must pick up for this matter creatures. After that, we will grab a +2 to our substance points, and we can also grab Recycle, which is a buff to manipulate summons. This says that as an action, you can destroy a matter creature, regaining half the number of hit points they had remaining, rounded up in substance points up to your max. So basically, this does technically allow you to bank substance points in between long rests if you keep your creatures alive for long enough. Or this allows you to recuperate some of your spent substance points after a battle is over when you no longer need the creatures. For example, if you're about to go on a long journey and you don't really want to have them with you, you can just turn them all back into substance points and then use them for any challenges you have on the way. Moving up to the next layer, we can grab Shield of Matter. This says that as an action, you can expend a number of substance points to create a shield of matter around yourself or another creature you can see within 10 feet of you. The shield will last until destroyed or for 1 hour. You'll roll a number of d8s equal to the number of substance points spent, and it'll have HP equal to the amount you rolled plus your nodes in Manipulator. And then whenever the protected creature, which is either you or somebody else, takes damage, instead you'll deal damage to the matter shielding the creature. You can notably do this as much as you want, as often as you want, but you will be limited by the amount of substance points you have to spend, and it only does last an hour. After that, we'll grab a proficiency bonus increase, and we can grab another feat over here. Next layer gives us a +2 to our substance points, a +2 spells known, and a +2 caster. And then after that, we can go Extend Manipulations. This is a more niche but still very fun ability that says you gain the Mage Hand cantrip, and if you already have this cantrip, you select a different one from any spell list. For you, the range of Mage Hand is 60 feet, and you can double this range for 1 hour by spending a substance point. Notably, this does not mean you can double it a bunch of different times. It says double this range, meaning it's double the 60-foot range. But still, Mage Hand at 60 feet and being able to double its range to 120 is really nice. And it's not very expensive because it is just a cantrip, and the doubling of the range is only 1 substance point. We can then grab another feat. Perhaps we pick up Mage Hand Leisure Domain to make our Mage Hand even more fun. Or we could grab a substance point increase of +3 over here. Getting near the top, we've got Pillars of Matter right here, which says that you can use your action and spend 2 substance points to assimilate a chunk of your matter beneath the ground at a point within 30 feet of you. Later on, or on the same turn with a bonus action, you can extend this mote of matter upward in a 5-foot cylinder 30 feet tall. Any creature standing on this space must make a dexterity saving throw against your spell save DC, or they'll be stuck on top of the pillar as it extends. The pillar moves up with 2,000 pounds of force, and it will stop early if something strong enough stops its movement. After being made, it will have a AC of 15 and 50 hit points. Notably, this doesn't have listed the amount of damage a creature would take if it was crushed, because I kind of want to leave that up to the DM, because it is kind of a cheap ability that you can technically spam in a sense, because 2 substance points is pretty cheap, but it really would depend on the environment you're in anyway. For example, if you use this to push a creature into a prismatic wall, you're going to be doing a lot of damage, whereas if you just push them up to the sky and they have to jump down 30 feet, then they'll be taking 3d6 fall damage. So it really depends on the environment you're in, how useful this is. Outside of combat, it does have some interesting ideas as well, but again, you're going to have to be a pretty creative player to make use of some of these features. After that, we'll pick up a proficiency bonus increase, and at the end of this path is an ability score improvement. And the final path over here gives us a +4 to our substance points, and Ride Waves. Again, you don't need to pick these up in the same order I've been picking them up. I just have to go through them in a certain order because it's easiest to read. But Ride Waves says that you can use your matter beneath your feet to push yourself about the battlefield. Your movement ignores difficult terrain, and you do not trigger reactions with your movement. When using this style of maneuvering, you are visibly using magic. This is a term that'll come up a few times in the class. Basically, I want to notify anybody who's playing this class, or DMs specifically, that you can't really hide the fact that you're using magic when you're using some of these abilities. For example, Ride Waves and later Substance Cloak will also have the same line of text where it's basically saying you're definitely doing a magical thing when you're using these abilities. So if you want to walk around normal, that's fine, but then you won't get the benefit of ignoring difficult terrain and never triggering reaction attacks. And the only other things we can access from the right side are a +1 cantrip in the middle and a proficiency bonus increase in the middle before we move on to the left half of the Manipulator. And now we'll move into the left half, which I honestly think is the more exciting half, but I can also see enjoying being able to cast with Dexterity as a super cool thing. Starting with the main portion of this left half, Substance Cloak. This says that you can coat your body in an aura, armor made of your matter, or some other manner where you are visually using magic. As a bonus action, you can spend any number of substance points to create your cloak. This power will then linger around you for a number of rounds equal to the number of points you spent to create the cloak. So for example, if you had 4 points and you spent all 4 of them, it would stay on your body for 4 rounds, or 24 seconds if you want me to get nitty and gritty. If you want this to last for a full minute, you'd have to spend 10 points. If you only need this for 2 rounds, spend 2 points. Basically, the amount of points you spend will determine how long it'll stick around, and being able to do this as a bonus action means that you're probably going to want to gamble and spend as many as you think are necessary to keep it around for an entire combat encounter when it starts, because then you only need to use 1 bonus action to get it going. But notably, the less you spend and the less you need, you won't have to worry about overspending on this if you are careful and make sure you figure out how many rounds you think the combat will take. But what does our Substance Cloak do? Well, it says that when you gain this feature, select a disconnected non-feat, ASI, or plus point value / caster node from any class and mark it down. While you are cloaked, you have access to the feature from that node. Any points needed to activate the ability instead use substance points for you. So for example, we can pick up Substance Cloak right here and go into, say, the fighter's class list and pick up extra attack. And so then whenever we are cloaked, we now have access to extra attack. Or you could pick out something like Potent Spellcasting from the Cleric skill tree, and then you'll be able to add your Wisdom modifier to the damage of cantrips you cast while you're cloaked. Being able to basically mix and match your character however you wish by picking up other features from other classes without having to fully commit to the class themselves. This is very similar to something like the Trainer, which allowed you to basically mix and match a bunch of different classes together without actually having a multi-class to get to that point, because your beast was taking those levels, not you. And you'll see that the cloak itself is actually going to gain more upgrades as we continue down this path. We will grab another +2 to our substance points, and then we can grab Matter Renewal. This is another feature that's really nice and honestly something you should probably pick up if you're going the spell method also. This says that you regain double your intelligence modifier in substance points up to your max on a short rest. After that, we can pick up a +2 to our spells known, and we get to pick up a Cloaked Improve feature, which notably there's a Cloaked Improve here, here, and here. So you can pick up to 3 of these up, and they all do the same thing. They say that when you gain this feature, select a disconnected non-feat ability score improvement or plus point value / caster node from any class and mark it down. While you are cloaked, you will have access to that feature in addition to the other features from Cloaked Improve and Substance Cloak. Any points needed to activate the ability instead use substance points for you. So just like the other one, this allows you to mix and match up to 4 different nodes from other classes all together as long as you have your Substance Cloak up. So obviously you'll get 1 from the Substance Cloak down here, you can get 1 from Cloaked Improve here, 1 more from over here, and 1 more from over here. In fact, I'm just going to highlight these quick to show that they all do the exact same thing, with a feat in front of this one to pick up. And then the top of this path over here gives us a +4 substance points. But now let's go back down and look at some of these outstretching branches. Starting over here with a +2 to our caster level, we can then grab Elevated Stance, which is basically a really cool way of jumping really high. It says that you can use your bonus action to push yourself straight up to double your nodes in Manipulator, rounded to the nearest 5 in feet. We have 37 nodes in Manipulator, and double that would be 74 feet straight up into the air. And it's up to, which means you kind of get to decide how high you're jumping. But after that, we can also pick up a +2 to our substance points. And then over on this path, we'll grab another +3 to our substance points, and we can grab an ability score improvement off that. And then over here, we can grab a +2 caster after that Cloaked Improve I already talked about. But here we've got Extend Weapon. This is definitely focused around that Marshall-esque Gish build using Manipulator, but it says that once per long rest, you can extend your reach by 5 feet for 1 minute. And you can also do this again by spending a number of substance points equal to the number of times you have used this feature, and this will reset at the end of a long rest. So basically, you can extend your reach plus 5 feet and say you're using a weapon that already has reach, so you can now have a 15-foot reach with that weapon. Spend an additional substance points and now you got it to 20 feet. Spend 2 more substance points, it's 25 feet. Spend 3 more substance points, it's 30 feet. And basically the concept behind this is that you're like building your matter on top of whatever you're using to attack from longer ranges away. But notably, this can get incredibly insane with how far your weapon reaches, as long as you're willing to just dump a bunch of substance points into this feature. After that, we get an ability score improvement, and then we get 2 +2 spells known. And after that, we got a +2 caster over here, as well as cloaked casting. This is a really nice feature, especially if you want to go for the full caster method. It says that while cloaked, using substance spells to change your spellcasting modifier to dexterity will cost 1 less point, which means that if you pick this up as well as the Matter Master, you'll be getting a -2 casting cost for almost everything you cast that you want to change to dexterity, which means that you can extremely reliably change almost every spell you cast to dexterity. After that, we can pick up a proficiency bonus increase, and then we also get a +3 caster over here, as well as shifting cloak. This is the final improvement that you can pick up to your substance cloak, and it says that when you activate substance cloak, you can choose any disconnected node from any class. While the cloak is active, you gain that node's features. Any points needed to activate the ability instead use substance points for you. Notably, this does not say you need to lock it in right away. Shifting Cloak is the upgrade that allows you to, every single time you use Substance Cloak, pick a new ability that you want to have. It is extremely flexible in the way that the more intelligent you as a person are, the more you know this system, the stronger this ability is, because you can keenly pick out any feature you think will be useful in the moment and snap, bonus action, use Substance Cloak for the number of rounds you need to use it for, and you'll have that ability online. Say you need to charm somebody up, boom, Substance Cloak yourself, give yourself a +2 to charisma checks for the next minute, and finish off that social encounter with a slight upgrade to your charisma. Or you could pick up some of the rogue abilities that allow your proficiency to basically do extra stuff. There's a lot of different features available when you have access to literally every class in the game at the drop of a hat. And the last 3 things we can pick up is our cantrip down here, a +2 caster in the middle, and one of the only classes to gain it, but +2 max to dexterity. This means your dexterity maximum will go up to 22 instead of 20, which means that you can have a +6 to dexterity checks, and all the spellcasting you'll be doing with dexterity would also have that +6 instead of +5. You get to level 18 in spellcaster if you go full manipulator and max out all the caster buffs, which means you'll get all the way to 8th level spells, not quite piercing into the 9th level spells, but taking just a few spellcasting subclasses, or even just grabbing a few feats that give you plus caster levels can easily get you to those 9th level spells on the sorcerer spell list. So that's the Manipulator. I really enjoy the concept behind it. I really always wanted to be able to play a spellcaster that, literally used their hands to cast their spells. And I had a few different concepts for how to make one when I was originally homebrewing. But then when I thought of this system, I really wanted to bring that idea forward, and I changed it, I manipulated it up to the point where I think it actually works really well in the system. I really enjoy the Substance Cloak concept, and when we do the Artificer, you'll see that I've kind of done a very similar thing for the Artificer Infusions, except the Artificer has a lot more freedom because they can not only pass out the items that they infuse, but they can also put multiple on the same items. There's really a lot more flexibility that the Artificer has over the Manipulator, but the Manipulator gets other bonuses that the Artificer does not have. In general, I think this is a really cool class, but I'd love to hear what you guys think about it in the comments below. We've got no feats to talk about, so let's bring up the next classes that we could be discussing as votes. Notably, you'll be seeing some of these repeat quite a lot, especially as we get down to the last few. So I do want to bring up some ones we haven't talked about yet as options to be voted on. Those being the Wizard. If I have to explain what a wizard is, I don't know who you are. I mean, it's a wizard. You cast spells out of the spell book. You've got a special variant of spellcasting that's both prepared and known. You're a wizard. You do wizard stuff. Or we could check out the Dragoon. This is the Battlemaster type character that has a resource meter basically that they can use to make all of their strikes more interesting by using control and debuffing on their enemies while they're fighting for some very interesting and unique capabilities. Or we could check out another spellcaster in the Thaumaturge. This character is all about using their own psyche, perhaps a bit of a psychic type character or fear-based character in the sense that they use terror to cast their spells, terrifying their enemies into falling for their extremely buffed capabilities by draining a different resource. Anyway, if you want to vote for any of these in the comments below, you can do so. Otherwise, you can join my Discord, linked in the description, where you could also vote with everybody else in the announcements tab. Okay, yeah. Oh, I have to say goodbye. Goodbye!